Hello, Richard here. Today I've got a bit of a myth buster for you on wood planes. The myth being that some people say that when you flatten the sole of your plane, if you flatten your plane with the iron and the internals taken out, then when you refit the internals, you put the iron back in and the lever cap and all the rest of it, the plane will actually potentially bend. So you should always flatten your plane with all the internals fitted. Now, I was of that opinion myself, and in a previous video I did say that. I said that, yeah, you want to flatten the plane with the iron in. But chatting to people in the comments on that video, it seems there's a difference of opinion. Some people say it will affect the flatness, some people say it won't. So I thought, well, let's try it. Let's measure it and see if we can put this to bed one way or the other. Which side are you on? Do you think we should flatten with the iron in or the iron out? What we're going to do is use some precision engineering techniques so that we can measure the flatness of these planes here. I've got 3 planes. We'll measure the flatness down to a few 10,000ths of an inch. And it's worth saying your planes don't need to be flat to within less than 1,000th of an inch. If you look at a make like Lee Nielsen, who really care a lot about the quality of the planes that they produce, their tolerances are within about 1,500. And the fact we're looking down to tenths of 1,000 here is just purely so that we can measure these accurately. So I don't want to give you the impression that you need to be flattening your planes to this level. Anyway, as you can see, we've got 3 planes here. Now, the way we check these for flatness is you might notice that they've got a blue pattern on the front. There's a mottled blue pattern. And we achieve that by applying a very thin layer of engineer's marking blue onto a precision surface plate that's flat to within about 10,000th of an inch. We rub it on the blued surface, and when we pick it up, you'll see that there's an imprint. And as you can see here, we've got 3 planes that have all had that done. This shows that they're all very, very flat. Now, when you look at the blue pattern on, for example, this one, you'll see that there's blue patches and then there are sort of shiny metal patches. Now, the blue patches are where the plane touches the surface plate. So anything that's blue is within about a 10,000th or 2/10,000ths of an inch of each other. The silver bits that don't pick up the blue, they're very close to that. They're within a few 10,000ths too. So you can see these are all dead flat. So what we're going to do in just a moment is we're going to refit the irons in the planes. We'll re-indicate them on the surface plate, which is over there. I'll take you over there in a minute. And then we'll see if there's any difference in the blue pattern. So if these have distorted by so much as a few 10,000ths of an inch, we'll see it in the blue pattern and we'll know whether it's myth busted or not. Right, so the first plane we'll try out, this is an old Stanley number 4, and this is a handyman. So this is one of the Stanley's budget ranges, and you can see it's quite grotty, although it has been cleaned up here. I've flattened it by scraping it. So you can see the blue pattern there. What we'll do is wipe the blue off, fit the iron, and then we'll re-indicate it on the surface plate and see if anything changes. Now, with this one, you can see there's a slight sort of light area here. This is showing that it's slightly lower. I mean, very slightly, maybe, well, not even a 10,000th, but you can see there are blue dots in there, and each blue dot shows that it is level. So really all we're looking for is a change in the pattern. So anyway, let's give that a go. Okay, so I'll refit the iron away from the surface plate. I don't want to drop any dust onto that, so we'll just refit the iron. I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. Actually, that's not very tight. One thing that could affect this is how tight you have the lever cap. So if you have this really tight, that might affect things. So anyway, this is sort of a medium kind of tension now. That's not too bad. Got the bottom cleaned off. So let's get it back over to the surface plate and see how flat it still is. Okay, right. So with the iron back in, we'll give it a bit of an imprint. Just gently move it around in the blue. Not pressing down on it, just letting it ride under its own weight. And there you go. That is not really much different. I'll take a photo so we can compare it side by side. But you can see we've still got a fairly light patch here. We still have dots of blue in it. We still have the same blue pattern over the rest of it. So as far as I'm concerned, that is still within a few 10,000ths of an inch of flatness with the iron in. So this one, the Stanley Handyman, that's myth busted on that one. So let's try the record number 4 and see how that does. Right, this is the record number 4, and you can see there's a slightly lighter blue pattern on there. It does depend a lot on how thick you put the blue on the plate. But you can see there's a fairly even pattern of blue. There's blue dots all over the surface there. So that's how that looks. And again, we'll take a photo of this for before and after. And same again, we'll clean it off, put the iron in and see how it indicates. Well, that's the iron back in the record number 4. The bottom's been cleaned off, so we'll just re-roll the ink. And we'll give it an indicate. No difference at all, other than the blue is a little bit thicker, but that's to be expected. The thickness varies a lot depending on how you sort of reload the ink on there. But yeah, I would say that's that. That's flat. That's as flat as a flat thing, that is. So yeah, I would say myth busted again. Now, the only thing I will say is that it looks like there's a little bit more thickness of blue just here. So again, I'll take a photo of this so you can see this a bit better. That's maybe changed a little bit, but that, again, we're talking fractions of a thousandth of an inch. So certainly hasn't bent at all. So again, record number 4, myth busted with that one. Let's try the bigger plane. Let's try the Stanley number 5 and see how that goes. Right, well, this is the pattern before. Now, I've put the blue on quite thick, partly so that you can see it, and partly because we're not really dealing with like mega precision engineering here. If this was like a machine part or something, then we'd be doing much more finessing of the surface and thinner coats of blue. So just worth mentioning. Now, you can see here we're missing a bit at the back. There's a slight low spot here, but I can still see, I don't know how well you can see it, but I can still see little spots of blue here and there. So this is actually making contact. It's just there's a few low spots. So it doesn't really matter. As I say, what we're really looking for is a change in shape rather than it being perfectly flat. And this bit here is still within about probably 2 or 3 10,000ths of an inch. So nothing to worry about. All right, let's get this cleaned off, put the iron in, and then we'll give this a rub as well. Okay, well, we've got a slightly different blue pattern on there. You can see we've got a bit of a heavier bit behind the mouth. So this is sort of saying that maybe it has pushed the back of the mouth down slightly. And we seem to be slightly light on the front there. But there are still blue spots. So, and on the back, we've got more blue there. Now, this could be just down to variations in pressure, the thickness of the blue. This certainly hasn't changed by much, if at all. Like I said with the others, we'll take a photo of it as well, so before and after. Now, I wasn't all that satisfied with the way that the Stanley number 5 imprinted after I'd refitted the iron. So I cleaned off the surface plate entirely, reapplied the blue, and I've re-blued it. So in the photo here, you can see the re-blued iron in photo. So this is it with the iron in, and it's been re-blued, and it's a bit more consistent with the previous one. The blue looks the same sort of intensity. And it just goes to show that bluing things up on a surface plate is actually quite an art form. It's very easy to get a misread for a variety of reasons. For example, if the blue's too thick or the blue's too thin or it's unevenly applied or you've got some dust in it. When you get down to 10,000ths of an inch, just little specks of dust and dirt can massively change things. So anyway, you can see here that this is a lot closer. And again, I will stress that the differences between the blue spots and the silver spots are only a few 10,000ths of an inch. So even though it may look like it's changed by very, very little. So I think this is much more representative of the reality of the shape of the surface now. That certainly hasn't warped by enough to cause anyone any problems whatsoever. So I'd say that pretty much busts it too. Okay, so there you have it. 3 planes. We've got a record number 4, we've got a Stanley Handyman, and we've got a Stanley number 5 jack plane. I think in terms of my 3 planes, that's myth busted. Flattening with the iron in is the same as flattening with the iron out. Now, this is only 3 planes. If any one of these had actually massively distorted by putting the iron in, that would prove that it is an effect. Just the fact that I've tested 3 and there's no distortion with the irons in doesn't conclusively prove it. But logically, I think the way the irons fit, it's unlikely that the iron is going to cause the sole to bend. All perfectly flat with the irons out, and putting the irons in, they're all pretty much perfectly flat. Slight variation on this one, but so minute as to not be anything to worry about. Which is quite a relief, because what I didn't want to do was to spend ages flattening all these planes with the irons out and put the irons in and find that they bend, because I'd have to redo them again. So that was quite a relief.